That was a traditional response. Now, also, the Feast of Trumpets was known as the feast where no one knew the day or the hour because it was based on the sighting of the new moon. So no one knew when the day or the hour was. And it was kept, and it still is, as a 2-day feast because they would light fires on the hills to let the Jews in the diaspora or in Babylon or wherever, they would light fires on the hills. And so because the Jewish day starts at sunset, at the sighting of the new moon, and everyone's asleep, they're not going to know till the next day that it actually was the Rosh Hashanah, and by then the day's mostly over. And they had to keep it. So they would keep it a 2-day feast, and it was known as one long day where no one knew the day or the hour that it was going to begin. So it's kind of like if I told you, I'm not going to tell you when I'm coming, but gobble, gobble, gobble. Okay, Turkey Day, you know.
Yeah.
Well, when he says...
That's a clue.
Yeah, and when he says you won't know the day or the hour, he's telling you it's the Feast of Trumpets, because that was known as the feast where no one knew the day or the hour that it would begin.
Wow. Now, putting all this together, I go back to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, where Paul says, "But of the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night." Now this begins to make some sense to us.
Read the rest of that verse.
The rest of the verse right after that is, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief."
In the night. So he's telling you the day of the Lord is not to overtake you as a thief in the night. Exactly. 1 Thessalonians 5 says the day of the Lord will not take the watching church. It will not come to them as a thief in the night. It's only the dead church.
Mark's teaching are going to be in our May edition of Prophecy in the News magazine. And I'd like for you to get this. It's the May edition has the study of the solar and lunar cycles. And, of course, Rosh Hashanah is when this solar eclipse takes place in 2015. And this coming September 29th of 2008, on Rosh Hashanah begins the next 7-year cycle. It's called a week, or a Shavua in Hebrew, translated in King James Version as week. And it's entirely possible, folks, that Daniel's 70th week will begin on day 1 of year 1, on a Rosh Hashanah, day 1 of year 1 of a 7-year cycle. Now, we cannot tell you that it's going to start this September. We're asking not for a tornado warning, but for a tornado watch. Okay? Watch. Now, you can get his article in our May edition of Prophecy in the News magazine. Call the phone number at the bottom of your screen and order it today. It's $2.95. I hope you'll subscribe for the next year. For $34.95, we'll send you the next 12 issues of this magazine with all of our latest studies. You'll be glad you got it. And we'll send you 4 books. These are not booklets. These are books, 200-300 pages books. They are $48 value. We'll send them to you free along with your 1-year subscription. Just call the phone number at the bottom of your screen and order it today. And then don't forget, we have his studies on the feasts of the Lord, 4 DVDs here, and then this bonus DVD on the lunar and solar cycles of the year 2015. So please get these things from us. Help us to be able to pay for airtime. You'll be able to enjoy the studies that we have done and that Mark has done. Gary, tell us about it.
Well, J.R., these studies, though they may at first seem complex, are really quite simple. The way God has placed signs in the heavens on specific Jewish feast days. Now, we were talking about the Lord's coming as a thief in the night to the unbelieving church. Paul uses the term sudden destruction in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. And in Luke 21, there's this phrase, verse 34, "Take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and the cares of this life, that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare it shall come upon all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth." And you know that Greek word that's translated unawares, Mark, means suddenly and without any warning whatsoever. All of this ties together in a most interesting way because we look at the signs and we watch and we wait, but the world right now is fast asleep.
Yes, and I compare it to Abraham and Lot with the sudden destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham was the watching church. Lot was the sleeping church. Lot sat at the gate, and the nation of, or the city of Sodom, they didn't mind Lot having any authority as long as he didn't make any rulings. And the minute Lot tried to tell them something, they said, "Who made you a judge over us?" What's fascinating, Lot's name in the Hebrew picture language, every letter used to be a picture when the Torah was originally written. And the first letter of his name is the Lamed, and it was represented by a shepherd's staff, and it meant authority. The last letter of his name, then the Vav, okay, which means to attach. It's like a nail, to attach. And then the Tet, the T sound, was the picture of a serpent. So Lot's name represents the church that's given his authority over to the serpent.
Wow. How about that?
Backslidden.
Yes, exactly.
Really backslidden.
Now, we're speaking, I think, to J.R. and Mark, we're speaking to people out there who want to see the appearing of the Lord. We have a faithful viewing audience. And J.R., we've gone through cycles of watching. And you and I have often said one of the most difficult things that you can possibly undertake as a Christian is a faithful, day-by-day watching for the imminent return of the Lord. Yes. You can get bored, disinterested, discouraged. All kinds of things can happen to you, and you'll forget to watch. Yes. But we're trying to urge you that this is the time to watch.
Now, Mark is a Messianic pastor. He follows the Hebrew of the Scriptures and the symbolism of Judaism to help us better understand the Bible. Tell us a little bit about this Feasts of the Lord, Passover, through Rosh Hashanah and the Feast of Tabernacles. There's Pentecost. Actually, there are 7 festivals. Give us a brief overview of those, of what you're teaching here on this.
Sure. I think it's so important because when we hear the word feast, we typically think of food. But the biblical word is moed, and it means a divine appointment. Like God has a day timer. And he's saying, these are the days that I'm going to intersect human history on my day timer, on my calendar. And they were also called convocations in Leviticus 23. The first thing I want to mention, and this is where the church really needs to get a hold of this. It says these are the feasts of the Lord. Even these are